Dreamer's Edge podcast is recorded by a studio audience.
Hi everyone, it's the Dreamer's Edge podcast. Woo!
Yay!
Hi, I'm Kazim, an English editor at the Lex Digital Studios.
Hi, I'm Bill. I'm a computer engineer with Octasic.
And I'm Dimitri, a movie critic for AskMen.com and webmaster of thedreamersedge.com. So, in the last episode we discussed the television grid up to Thursday, and we're going to continue our discussion by talking about the desk slots.
Woohoo! Fridays this fall, 8 o'clock ABC, Super Nanny.
I actually like Super Nanny as a reality TV show. I mean, I don't watch it because I don't watch reality TV, but as a reality TV show, I think that one's pretty okay. I mean, it shows incompetent parents how to be a competent parent.
Yeah.
The only problem is that I always have huge doubts about whether or not they're going to follow these teachings in the long run.
If they weren't doing that before, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
are they going to be able to maintain
I mean,
it?
unless they do regular checkups, like we're going to check up with you every 3 months to see how things are going, which I find unlikely that they have that much follow through.
And it's also, especially since the parents don't have exactly the same goodwill as the contestants in Biggest Loser, they're really stubborn. They really don't follow. They go like, "Oh, you're full of it," and you're like, "What are you doing?" You know?
They probably do it on purpose to get conflict.
Maybe, but at the same time, like, really, you want to come off as that, unaware, that you don't have that sort of self-reflexivity where you can actually look at your behavior and realize that this is having a really negative impact on your family.
Because what happens a lot of times is that there's two parents, right? There's one parent that calls Super Nanny, and there's one parent that resents the other parent for calling and resents the Super Nanny. And usually the parent that resents is usually the worst one of the two, you know? And there are a lot of times the nannies end up doing patchwork. It's almost kind of tragic where the nanny kind of realizes that, you know what, there's nothing to do, but I gotta make sure that kid doesn't get abused as much as he's getting abused right now. There's one where the father keeps taking all his frustrations on the boy because he loves the daughters. And like awful things like the kid is watching TV and the father feels like watching TV now, so he kicks the kid out and the daughters show up. And so he starts playing with the daughters in the living room in front of the TV and the kid's kind of stuck outside, kind of throwing a ball to himself, you know?
Usually men can yes, I understand maybe perhaps being more protective of your girls and wanting to be around them and foster their growth, but what's going on with the boy?
I know, and so the nanny kept trying to make him realize that, and like he would not have it. And so what the nanny ended up doing is kind of constructing rituals for the mother to have with the boy. He had like son-mother time, and it was like completely an artificial patch to make up for the fact that the father just will not even talk to the boy.
That is awful. What kind of parent does that?
A bad one.
Yeah.
So it's kind of Super Nanny. I think it's not a bad show in the context of like, well, they actually are doing good work. It's not like Survivor where it's just conniving and a horrible thing. But it's always kind of tragic because a lot of times you don't feel that they manage to get through and you kind of feel sorry for these children.
Moving on from that tragic note on ABC to 9 o'clock with Ugly Betty, which I guess is basically coming to an end unless they can manage to stretch themselves out to a 5th season.
Why would it be coming to an end?
Because it's on Friday night.
Yeah, exactly. It's the death slot. Did you hear him?
So essentially, these are the shows that will not be here the next season.
Well, essentially, yeah, it's a bit of explanation why I call it the death slot. Is people don't watch shows on Fridays and Saturdays for the obvious reasons that, you know, we go out on Fridays and Saturdays.
Yeah.
You know, kind of rolling his eyes there, you know.
Yeah, and again, you find that the Big Bang Theory not an accurate portrayal, is it? Yeah, but that's where networks put their shows to die, honestly, is, you know, when Terminator moved from Monday to Friday, we're like, it's slowly going to die.
What about Dollhouse? They started on Friday.
Yeah, no, it's because they don't have an enormous amount of faith in it.
Yeah.
So what were we talking about? Ugly Betty.
Yeah.
Well, I'm guessing that they're going to have a complete season at least because they're so close to syndication. I'm willing to bet ABC is going to let them have it.
Yes. And then that will wrap it up for them.
Yeah, I never watched that show. Never got into it.
It's based on
the Spanish version. I didn't watch it myself. My boyfriend was the one. He watched one episode of Ugly Betty. We watched it together, and he's like, "This isn't as funny as the Spanish one," and then changed the channel.
But it is funnier than the German one. So.
There's a German one?
Yeah, the franchise has been spread all over the world.
Wow. How do you know?
Huh?
You've watched?
Yeah, it shows on some of my channels because I have satellite.
Oh,
That
okay.
explains it. He's so worldly.
Yeah. And he speaks Strahman.
I do.
He's a charmer, ladies. Moving on, ABC 10 o'clock 2020, season 32.
Well, it's an old reliable.
It's lost a lot of its credibility, back in the day when they had Hugh Downs, at least, to kind of ground the series.
But is it 2020 that's lost credibility or just Barbara Walters?
Could be Barbara Walters.
Well, I think its news shows in general have lost a lot of it.
Well, it's become very tabloid now.
Yeah.
They're taking their lead from shows like TMZ.
Well, it's because people don't watch real news anymore. So, I mean, they don't have a choice. If they want to keep attracting listeners, they need to change what they're doing. But it makes for bad news.
Well,
And storylines.
Barbara Walters, who started off as a pioneer in journalism, she's grown very reactionary.
Yeah, she's taken a huge downward slope.
Yeah.
I still like Hugh Downs, though.
I remember, right after 9/11, where Barbara Walters declared that America has no allies, just like the day that Canada offered its support, and actually the rest of the world as well. I mentioned Canada because that's where we're from.
Mm-hmm.
And, she got quite a few emails going like, what are you talking about? And her answer to that is like, well, I was talking hyperbolically, frankly. I don't understand why people don't understand that. And it's like, because you're a journalist and you should have more integrity than that. That's why Barbara Walters. But whatever.
Yeah. Moving on, we move on to CBS. 8 o'clock Ghost Whisperer, which has been on Fridays.
Well, it started on Fridays.
Yeah, from the beginning.
Yeah, but that's because it's about dead people.
No, it actually started out as a replacement for Joan of Arcadia.
Yeah.
And it was a natural transition with that kind of stairway to heaven kind of feel to it.
Yeah. She's reuniting people. Lots of tears are shed. Their skepticism is easily overcome for whatever reason.
It's kind of like Medium, but not as good, so it's on Friday.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
and you get to see Jennifer Love Hewitt in numerous negligees for no apparent reason. So, for people who like that sort of thing, there you go.
I like that sort of thing. I still don't watch the show.
I thought this show was going to end after season 1, and yet it keeps on going strong. Well, maybe not strong, but it keeps on going.
But that's the thing with the Friday Death slot, is that you don't need that high ratings to go on, because if you catch anything resembling an audience, you're doing well enough for that slot. So.
Yeah, and Ghost Whisperer has certainly proved that.
Yeah.
9 o'clock, funny that you mentioned Medium. They've now brought Medium to Fridays.
I know, it's just to flag up just how one is a ripoff of the other.
Yeah. But I guess we can say that this is probably going to be Medium's last season,
I wouldn't mind
seeing
it,
as
so.
they made the change. So,
And they've reached syndication.
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it had a good run, and definitely a much better series than Ghost Whisperer if you're interested in the idea of using senses that are still not well understood.
But one thing, I actually resent Ghost Whisperer a lot less than I do Medium.
Probably.
Because Medium claims to be based on a true story. And I'm like, on what planet? Come on.
Well, it's kind of confusing. Aren't they both loosely, because I know Ghost Whisperer, because I worked on commentaries, claim to be following, again, a real person's experiences. Same with Medium.
But yeah, that's the problem I have with both shows is I'm a skeptic, and I don't have any problem at all with fantasy shows that do this.
Yeah.
I mean, if they don't present themselves as being possible or like reality, even like Fringe where they frame it in the real world and all that, that's fine. I don't mind. But these shows seem to be saying it's real, which I have a problem with. So that right there, I'm never going to watch them.
Yeah, but I find Ghost Whisperer, like, okay, it's silly, but, let's say you believe in that stuff. She has adventures, blah, blah, blah. She helps people, blah, blah, blah. Medium, she's actually doing crime solving and helping prosecution. I was like, I'd like to see the jury that goes like, she had a vision. Let's convict the guy.
I have to admit, that is a major.
I prefer never to see that jury personally.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. 10 o'clock numbers. Another, Friday stay.
Yeah, well, that's a mainstay. That one is one of those rare, solid performers on Friday. One of the first of the gimmick cops. This is a cop who uses math. Dubious math, poorly applied math, by the way.
Yeah, like, that was one of the first things. I am not a math person. I'm the first to admit that. But even I'm like, there are some serious flaws here.
One of the occasional contributors to dreamersedge.com for the readers who visit frequently is Nicolas. He's a doctor in mathematics and physics and astronomy, not astrology. And whenever I watch the show with him, it's a delight to see him like tear his hair out, go like, "That's not how it works."
Yeah, I've never watched that really. I caught an episode or two, but that's it. Never really grabbed me.
It's very Tony Scott, who is one of the executive producers. It moves fast enough that you don't have to think, and it pretends to be about things that it's not really about. That's pretty much describes every Tony Scott movie out there, and Numbers is a television show that's no exception.
Yeah, but it's doing well, and I imagine it'll continue to do so on Fridays.
Yeah.
NBC, interesting move. They now have Law and Order in its 20th season on Fridays at 8 to 9.
It's probably going to kick major butt because it's a higher quality show than all the others.
Exactly. I mean, if you're home Friday night and you're going to watch something, it's probably going to be Law and Order.
Then again, Law and Order Trial by
Jury was on the Friday.
And
but
it died.
It died quickly, but, you know, there were a lot of issues. I mean, Jerry Orbach passing away.
Yeah. NBC at 9 o'clock has Southland. Actually a well-performing show given that it started like right around Sweet Time last May, and it actually managed to get a audience. Any audience you can get at that period is actually a good sign in terms of the appeal of the show.
I was a little confused when I saw it on Friday.
Well, the NBC for Friday is actually really interesting in the fact that these are actually solid performers.
Well, that's exactly it. These are good shows. These are well-written shows. These are shows I should be watching if I wasn't going out on Friday night.
And I think that's a result of giving up the 10 o'clock slot for Jay Leno.
These are where those shows would have been.
Yeah, Law & Order would have been on Wednesday at 10, and Southland would have been on Thursdays at 10.
Which is too bad, because, you know, Southland's only going into its second season.
So it's a dangerous season and a dangerous slot.
Well, yeah. They're going to lose the momentum that they gained.
Yeah, especially because Southland is a soap opera it's ER with cops.
Right.
It's a continuity-based show. Like Law & Order, it doesn't matter if you miss an episode, you can still catch another one on your show.
That's true.
Yeah. Heck, it's even written so that if you catch it at the half hour, people keep re-explaining some of the key facts so that if you catch it at the half hour, you can still watch the rest of the show. Yeah,
no, it's true.
But Southland is really continuity heavy. So, like, if you miss one episode because you had a date for once, are you you're gonna really watch the show like missing once every 3 episodes and not know what's going on?
Yeah,
probably not. Yeah.
So, which is really too bad. A solid show.
The Law and Order and Southland are, I think, shows that are gonna end up too expensive for that slot.
Over time?
Yeah.
When compared to the other networks?
Yeah, because the other shows are low performers, but they're not expensive to produce, generally speaking. We'll get to that with Fox in particular. So that even if they don't perform particularly well, it doesn't really matter that much because they're not that costly.
Yeah, whereas these are quality shows where they've invested time and effort.
So if they don't get a major audience, it's no longer worth it. You either change time slot for them to try to compete in the real slots, or you drop the show because it's just not worth it.
Yeah, it's kind of odd because, as you said, they must not have time, but you'd think they would have made time for it. Especially since they have other shows that I think you could quite easily push out of the way to put Southland in for an hour.
It's the Jay Leno show thing. I really don't understand what NBC are doing.
Putting it at 10 o'clock, I mean, really, yeah.
Because Southland, like, Thursday at 10 would have been a good slot for it. It's the ER with cops. That's where it was last year. That's where people are most likely to find it again.
It's the same thing with the Law and Order. That 10 o'clock was really their time slot as well. So to have it shoved off to another day and another time.
Yeah, well, actually, it's true. Law and Order was a 10 o'clock show, moved up to 8, and I'm wondering if that's going to affect the storytelling as well, because censorship-wise, you can't do quite the same things at 8 o'clock as you can at 10 o'clock on American television. And given the nature of Law and Order, that might be an issue.
Yes. Fox, at 8 o'clock, a new comedy, Brothers.
Yeah, what's that about?
Brothers. It's about brothers.
And what do they do, those brothers?
They have funny situations.
Like, when you talk about brothers, like, you mean they're related or they're black?
No, I'm thinking related. No. Related.
They're black and they're brothers, so it's all good.
I'm actually kind of looking forward to this. Okay, so it's about a footballer who goes home to his family and hangs out with his brothers.
Yeah.
It's one of the few Fox shows to actually directly target the Black American audience.
Yeah.
Okay, well, one day at some point, Hollywood might want to portray Black Americans as something else than athletes.
Yeah.
It would be nice.
Just a thought.
Yeah, successful Black Americans. Oh, they must play sports.
Sometimes they're comedians.
Yeah.
No, the successful ones actually are comedians sometimes, but they still portray sportsmen.
Yeah.
Yeah, on 30 Rock.
I love, speaking of 30 Rock and black stereotypes, I love the episode where Liz Lemon starts believing that Tracy Jordan is illiterate.
Yeah.
But back to Brothers, it's got Carl Weathers in it. For that reason alone, I might check it out.
Which one is he?
Rocky's nemesis.
Oh, yeah. Apollo.
Yeah, it took an awfully long time. Because I could see him thinking, and I'm like, oh wait, I won't say anything.
That's right, Apollo, like the theater.
Continuing the black theme. Very nice, very nice. 8:30. You've got season 4 of Till Death on Fox.
That still exists?
Yeah, that still
it's
exists.
still there.
Not for long.
I was expecting it to end after half the season.
Well, exactly. Well, it keeps getting shuffled around. It's been on several different days at different times. So, yeah.
I'm expecting it to die soon, though.
Well, exactly. 9 o'clock. Dollhouse, which I was actually surprised was back for season 2.
Yeah, I expect it to last 5 episodes.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah. No.
Well, it's weird. Why would they bring it back if they don't expect it to...
Well, they had...
What are they going to base their cancellation on?
It was a low performer, and I think they had a choice between keeping Terminator or Dollhouse. Personally, I would have liked it if they kept Terminator, especially back then. We didn't realize that Terminator Salvation was going to suck balls. And so you might have thought, like...
Maybe they knew, and that's why, Terminator Salvation is going to kill the franchise anyway, so...
Yeah, not that it wasn't already dying on television there. Or keep Dollhouse. And the thing with Dollhouse is that it doesn't have much of an audience, but it does have a solid audience, like the Whedonites, who believe that Whedon can do no wrong, even when you point it out to them. What he does
just
wrong.
brought in Alan Tudyk.
Very
interesting. Very interesting ending to Dollhouse. But it has potential. They could do crap with it, or they could do very good things.
Well, the show is as good as it can be for such a hokey premise. The problem is that the premise is problematic.
Yeah.
But it is, however, cheap to produce, which is why they saved Dollhouse.
Really? Why is it so cheap? Because they don't keep blowing stuff up.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And they don't have like computer-generated robots running around at all times. Yeah. That helped a lot.
I guess some people out there must be very happy because, contrary to a lot of rumors, people were expecting that it was going to be cancelled at the end of the first season. They did manage to come back, but there are clearly a lot of issues. I know you and I have talked about it. The role of women in particular, which is so funny because Joss Whedon really puts himself out there as something of a feminist, but when you're revolving your story around what seems like a brothel more than anything else, it's a little hard to take.
Yeah, although in fairness, I mean, you do position the brothel as being a bad thing.
Yeah.
But it feels like Joss Whedon is trying to eat his cake and criticize it too. It's kind of like, oh, I'm a feminist and I don't like exploiting women, but let me make a show about that in which I exploit Eliza Dushku and put her in skimpy outfits every excuse I get.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I suppose the allure is that Eliza Dushku's character, we're supposed to see her sort of blossom and become more aware of herself as an entity separate from the dollhouse.
Right.
But
unfortunately, she's played by Eliza Dushku. Who doesn't quite have the range to portray that.
Yes, that's a shame.
She's good for kicking butt.
Summer Glau would have kicked ass in that role.
Yeah, she would have been great.
Yeah, she really would have brought the show to a level that's, watchable.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people could get into the whole FBI agent aspect of it too.
Yeah, but now he's a baddie.
Sorta.
I don't know, like the final sacrifice that he made in the last season was kind of like to make up for the fact that he just raped her.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, that's not enough.
True.
Yeah, it's pretty... Yeah. Yeah, so moving on from that. CW 8 o'clock to 9, Smallville. Again, another show I was surprised was still in the air.
That it managed to go all the way to 9 season with half its cast sliced off. Rosenbaum is gone, and so is the girl who plays Lana Lang. What's her name? Kristen Kirk.
Yeah. Oh, so who are we following now in this series?
Clark, the worst actor in the entire series. People tell me it's gotten good again, but I don't believe it for a second. Also, it's kind of like Miami Vice, the movie, in the sense that I don't believe the series is taking much place in Smallville anymore. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can't keep it there.
Because he works for the Daily Planet.
So
yeah,
he has
exactly.
to go to Metropolis.
Yeah, no,
exactly.
Most of the show takes place in Metropolis.
I know, exactly.
So they should have renamed it.
It was misleading.
On the other hand, they couldn't keep him in Smallville.
No, they should have ended the show a long time ago. It's season 9, for heaven's sake.
I honestly thought they had ended it already.
Well, it actually may get a contract for a 10th season as well as a 9th season. I think that was in negotiation for a 2-season run,
Okay,
including this one.
You can't see this, but I am rolling my eyes.
But you know what? Really, really loyal fans, loyal audience. So yeah, Friday night slot, perfect for the nerds still watching Superman.
Yeah, and then they compliment Smallville with an encore of America's Next Top Model at 9.
That's just bizarre.
Well, they had nothing.
It's Friday, no one's watching anyway.
Exactly, and they're like, encore of America's Next Top Model. There you go.
I guess so.
Why pay for a show?
Yeah.
True.
No one's gonna
That's
watch.
true. If they know no one's going to watch it anyway, they might as well put filler.
Yeah, especially since their demographic are people who are definitely going to go out on Friday.
Oh,
Yeah.
exactly. They're the age. Yeah.
And the only ones who are not going to go out are the little, basement nerds who watch Smallville. Take that, comic book fans. Come on, write your angry letters.
And viruses.
Yeah, that's true. Batman's good.
Well, that's Friday nights this fall. Does anyone have anything to say?
Yeah, I think CW is going to take it home for sure.
That's right, they're just strong Friday night.
No, CBS usually takes it on Friday, and it's hard to imagine it moving that much.
Even with NBC? Law and Order and Southland?
Well, see, this is the problem. Because they have quality shows on Friday night, and most of us who probably watch these shows are not likely to be home. We would tune in if we are. But at least with CBS, they have shows that have managed to survive the Friday night slot with both Ghost Whisperer
True.
and Numbers. I feel a little sad for Law and Order and Southland.
I think Law and Order will survive it because,
Oh,
again, no continuity. I think Southland
Mhm.
is just there to die.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was a strong performance. I don't know what NBC's thinking with that.
Yeah, well, like you said, it's because they've given up their 10 o'clock slot. Where
Yeah,
these dramas would go.
Where are they going to put it?
I'd have to look at the grid again, but what do they have on BC usually? Maybe on Tuesday, make The Biggest Loser a little bit shorter,
Yeah, I suppose they could do that.
Oh, wow, that's actually significant that they put more faith in Law and Order Special Victims Unit as they do the original Law and Order, come to think of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they put that on Wednesday.
Yeah, come to think of it, CBS probably will take it away because Southland, if it's continuity based, it's not going to last.
Mm.
So they're going to drop. And the others don't really have a full lineup.
I have to go with CBS as well, just for those reasons.
And what are you going to watch? What shows are you going to watch?
If I'm home, it's probably going to be Law and Order and Southland.
You're not fooling anyone. We know you'll be home.
And then what about yourself?
Let's see. I think I'm definitely going to give Dollhouse a chance. A few episodes at least to see what they do with their season ender.
Mhm.
Nothing else really.
It's time to move on to our own little mainstay on the death slot. The Electric Boogaloo Factory. So, the Electric Boogaloo Factory, that's when we take a franchise that doesn't deserve a sequel and make up a sequel.
Woo-hoo. That was lame. It's because I'm not that excited.
Hey, this week's about TV, so we decided what would we do if we didn't do so much a sequel as a movie adaptation of a popular series. And in the great tradition of the Electric Boogaloo Factory, we went with the thing you really would want to see. And that's One Tree Hill, the movie.
I actually moved it about 20 years down the line. Everyone's older. Lucas Scott has been struggling as a writer. He's become despondent, disillusioned, and in the great tradition of writers before him, such as Sylvia Plath and Ernest Hemingway, he decides to commit suicide. However, he is not successful in his attempt, and he's in a coma in the hospital. And at this point, his old friends and enemies gather around him. And it's basically one really long and tiresome movie about them talking about stuff over his body in the hospital bed, and him doing his usual eyebrow thing as comments come his way.
That seems pretty in keeping with the later seasons of One Tree Hill.
There you go.
Because they removed the parents mostly because they grew older. So there's no more Dan, and Dan, who is Lucas and Nathan's father, is like the diabolical villain of everything, who's evil for no reason. And he always makes the show so much fun. But now they kind of pushed him aside, so it's really just the teens talking. Actually, when I was thinking of One Tree Hill and trying to figure out what I'd like to see in the movies, it occurred to me the weird continuity in One Tree Hill. Because check this out. The first 2 seasons equaled 1 year only. So that means that in 2003, they started off at 16. Right? And then the 3rd and 4th season also equaled 1 year. So in 2007, they were 18. And then before season 5, there was a 4-year gap. Which means in 2008, they were 22 and they had graduated college. Also, Chad Michael Murray managed to finish a novel, and people were awaiting his second novel, and he couldn't find an inspiration. His editor was losing patience with him, and I was like, really? Because that doesn't seem like an awful lot of time. And then
maybe some writers are just better than others.
Oh, bite. And then season 7, which is the upcoming one, there's a 1-year gap again. So in 2010, they're going to be 25. The timeline is all messed up, and all the actors are 28, so it's even more confusing.
Which is why they couldn't just keep going 1 year per 2 years.
Yeah.
It would be like 19 and they're 28.
But it occurred to me the only way to explain all of this is if One Tree Hill, the town, is placed over a wormhole. And the space-time continuum is all relative. So it would be One Tree Hill lost in time. Where Chad, I will not call him Lucas, realizes that they're on a wormhole and realizes that he must go back in time to slow down his aging, otherwise the continuum will explode. So we go back throughout all the gaps and figure out how it is that Chad convinced all the characters to inject themselves with whatever, so that it would slow their aging, so they would keep with the reality.
Let me guess, he raises his eyebrow.
Let me think about that as I raise my own eyebrow. Yes, and then we discover that Dan, his father, is actually a time master who's been manipulating events all along.
Does that mean we get to see Doctor Who?
No, we get to see the Doctor.
But they do wage a big war, which creates a ripple effect. Kind of
Time
like
War?
Yeah, Time War. Yeah. And it's like butterfly effect. And so Jamie, Haley, and Nathan's sons get erased from existence only because I hate that kid so much. And then we reveal Dan's evil plan, which all along had nothing to do with the town of One Tree Hill. Really, he wanted the butterfly effect to affect another nearby town called Cape Side, where Dawson and Joey can finally be together. Thus ending the world.
I'd watch that.
I would too. There's Chad in it. Of course I'd watch it. He's like Zac Efron, but without the talent. Anyway, guys, see you next week as we talk about the weekend slots. Just next week, not even 2 weeks, just next week. Isn't it awesome? No? Okay, well, bye. Oh, I forgot to plug in the mic.
From that tragic note on ABC to 9 o'clock with I Believe Betty, which I guess is basically coming to an end unless they can manage to stretch themselves out to a 5th season.
Why would it be coming to an end?
Because it's on Friday night.
Yeah, exactly. It's the death slot. Did you hear him?
Yeah. So essentially, these are the shows that will not be here the next season.
Well, essentially, yeah, it's a bit of explanation why I call it the death slot. Is people don't watch shows on Fridays and Saturdays for the obvious reasons that, we go out on Fridays and Saturdays.
Yeah.
Kind of rolling his eyes there,
Yeah, and again, you find that The Big Bang Theory not an accurate portrayal, is it? Yeah, but that's where networks put their shows to die, honestly, is, when...
You want to come off as that, unaware that you don't have that sort of self-reflexivity where you can actually look at your behavior and realize that this is having a really negative impact on your family.
Because what happens a lot of times is that there's two parents, right? There's one parent that's called super nanny, and there's one parent that resents the other parent for calling and resents the super nanny. And usually the parent that resents is usually the worst one of the two, And there are a lot of times the nannies end up doing patchwork. It's almost kind of tragic where the nanny kind of realizes that, there's nothing to do, but I gotta make sure that kid doesn't get abused as much as he's getting abused right now. There's one where the father keeps taking all his frustrations on the boy because he loves the daughters. And awful things like the kid is watching TV and the father feels like watching TV now, so he kicks the kid out and the daughters show up. And so he starts playing with the daughters in the living in front of the TV and the kid is kind of stuck outside, kind of throwing a ball to himself,
Usually men can yes, I understand maybe perhaps being more protective of your girls and wanting to be around them and foster their growth, but what's going on with the boy?
I know, and so the nanny kept trying to make him realize that, and he would not have it. And so what the nanny ended up doing is kind of constructing rituals for the mother to have with the boy. He had son-mother time, and it was completely an artificial patch to make up for the fact that the father just will not even talk to the boy.
That is awful. What kind of parent does that?
A bad one.
Yeah.
So it's kind of super nanny. I think it's not a bad show in the context of they actually are doing good work. It's not like Survivor where it's just conniving and a horrible thing. But it's always kind of tragic because a lot of times you don't feel that they manage to get through and you kind of feel sorry for these children.
Moving on.
I don't watch because I don't watch reality TV, but as a reality TV show, I think that one's pretty okay. I mean, it shows incompetent parents how to be a competent parent.
Yeah.
The only problem is that I always have huge doubts about whether or not they're going to follow these teachings in the long run.
If they weren't doing that before, are they going to be able to maintain
unless they do regular checkups, like we're going to check up with you every 3 months to see how things are going, which I find unlikely that they have that much follow through.
And it's also, especially since the parents don't have exactly the same goodwill as the contestants in Biggest Loser, they're really stubborn. They really don't follow. They go "Oh, you're full of it," and what are you doing?
They probably do it on purpose to get conflict.
Maybe, but at the same time, really, you.
Dreamers Edge Podcast is recorded by a studio audience.
Hi everyone, it's the Dreamers Edge Podcast! Woo!
Yay! Hi, I'm Kazim, an English editor at the Lex Digital Studios.
Hi, I'm Pio, I'm a computer engineer with Octasic.
And I'm Dimitri, a movie critic for AskMen.com and webmaster of thedreamersedge.com. So, in the last episode we discussed the television grid up to Thursday, and we're going to continue our discussion by talking about the death slots.
Woohoo! Fridays this fall, 8 o'clock, ABC, Super Nanny.
I actually like Super Nanny as a reality TV show. I mean, I don't